Hello and welcome to the fifth part in this series where I test a free Forex strategy, I thoroughly test it and hopefully try and improve it, and at the end of it make something fairly useful that some of you may even well like to trade. In the last test we looked at a volatility type stop loss and profit by using the range of the 4-hour setup bar. In this next test, I'm actually going to change the dynamics slightly of the strategy. Before, I noticed that the trade durations were a bit too long and the profit targets and the stop losses were a bit too wide. It wasn't as the strategy was intended in the first place. So with this next development, I'm going to use an exit at the end of the day. So it's actually going to be an intraday strategy. So trades lasting less than 24 hours. And we're going to look at some different stop losses again and different profit targets. So join me, we'll go over to the computer and look at this slightly new twist on this strategy and see how things work out from there. In this next development, I'm going to swap things up a little bit, as I mentioned that I would in the last video. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use an end of day exit with this new development. I wanted to keep the duration of this strategy slightly less than it has been because that's how the original poster of this strategy in the forum, that's how it was intended. So I'm going to hopefully keep some tighter stop loss and profit targets and I'm going to exit at the end of the day and see how that works out. So first thing I want to do is it's a function I've coded into the code when I wrote it, that I can change an input and use an exit at the end of the day quite quickly. So that's quite useful. So that's switched on at the moment. And remembering back, we saw some good results starting trading at 6 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock in the morning. So I'm actually going to use 6 o'clock to try and just strengthen the trades up a little bit. So to start with, I'm going to use 6 o'clock. If we went to 10 o'clock, then the later we're going, the less duration, the less time we're going to have in the trade to get any sort of a decent move, bearing in mind that we're exiting at the end of the day. So I'm going to use 6 o'clock and look at the stop loss and the profit targets. So first of all, I'm going to look at the profit target. I'm going to use a fixed pip or a fixed dollar target again. We looked at the volatility or the percentage of the setup bars range last time, and I don't think it done us any favours over just using the fixed pip. So I'm going to carry on, use just a fixed pip for this optimization. I'm just going to actually, before we optimize the profit, I'm actually going to put in a stop loss. So I'm just going to pick one. I'm just going to put in 150 pip stop loss because it's an intraday strategy. 150 pips might even be a little bit large for pound dollar, but it's going to give us something to work with. So I've already put in 150 pips. Now we're going to optimize the profit target and see what that looks like. And here's the optimization report for optimizing the profit target. As you can see, we've gone from no profit, so 0, and then we've gone in literally 10 pip increments all the way to 300 pips. And looking at the results, starting with the net profit, the best result is actually, although it's still negative, it's still bad, best result is actually 30 pips. I'm not going to use 30 pips. I don't use any sort of target that close in any of my strategies. I suppose if you were scalping it, it would be okay, but I've found to get a decent size average trade, 30 pips isn't enough for a stop loss in my types of strategies. So I'm going to disregard that a little bit. Next, the best area I noticed was somewhere between 80 and 140 pips. So again, negative numbers, but the sort of best of a bad bunch. So what I think I'll go with is just use 100 pips. It's certainly not the best, but it's somewhere in the middle. So if we use 100 pips, then we can have a look at, obviously it's still negative, but have a look at the equity graph and see how that looks. And that's the equity graph using that 100 pip profit target. And as you can see, it's pretty horrible. We knew it was a negative number anyway. Interestingly, you can see this has got this strong area again in these first couple of years. We've noticed that on quite a few of the developments over these stages. That's quite interesting. But ultimately, it's terrible, isn't it? So it's possible that I've got the stop loss completely wrong. I don't think so. From my experience, 150 pip stop is about where it wants to be, certainly to start with, but could be completely wrong. So we'll move on, and I'll stick with the 100 pip profit target and then have a deeper look into the stop loss. So here's the report for the optimizing the stop loss. You can see optimizing the stop from 0, no stop, in 10 pip increments all the way to 300. We don't want to stop. We don't want to go further than 300 on an intraday strategy like that. It's not necessary with a stop loss. Looking through the results, I found best results probably around 180, 190, this area, somewhere around here. Again, still negative, unfortunately, but they're the kind of best areas. So let's have a look at the performance report for a stop loss of 180. It's not going to be very different because last time we used a stop of 150. So, but nevertheless, let's just see if anything has changed. And no, you can see it's virtually identical. Unfortunately, that's a bad curve. So what's next in the development? Well, there's a few things that I could do, but honestly, I don't think I'm going to bother. I'm disappointed that I haven't been able to make something of this strategy. I think what it basically boils down to is that original signal from that 4-hour outside bar. It's just not strong enough. It's just not strong enough to give us any sort of an edge in this market, mind you. I've mentioned before, just because it doesn't work very well on pound dollar doesn't mean it won't work on another forex pair. And I most likely, especially for the point of making a video, if I can find a pair that it works very well on, then I will share that with you as well. But for now, sorry to disappoint anybody, but I couldn't make anything of that 4-hour outside bar signal. It's a shame because it's quite a nice, easy signal, especially for you guys. Some of you guys who are trading, taking manual signals, looking at the charts for a trade every 4 hours is quite a convenient thing. I remember when I was trading from a manual, not so much an automated perspective. Well, be sure to follow me in some more developments of these sort of strategies in the future, and I promise we will find something good. We will find something that we can make use of. So I look forward to seeing you in the next ones. So that's the end of that development on that particular strategy, on that Forex pair. I'm sorry that we didn't end up with anything usable, something that you could take away and trade, but that's how it goes. To be honest, most of the strategies that I test or develop don't really work, and the ones that do work, they have to go on to the next process before they actually get live traded, which of course is the end goal. I was hoping I might be able to do something with this strategy, make it a little bit better, but at the end of the day, I'm filming over my shoulder, you're having a look at what I do, and it's not made up, so it's just unfortunate that this time it was a strategy that just didn't work. Certainly didn't work on that Forex pair. I'll probably go ahead and try it out on some other Forex pairs. And if I do find one that it works particularly well on, then we can carry on, go through some more development processes, and I'll show you them and hopefully get you a usable strategy at the end of it. But until then, until the next series, the next development, I'll carry on. I'll come up with some good ideas, and be sure to join me there.